Okay, everybody, we're here. Okay. Nobody's in this chat yet. Okay, there's one person who's already got a thumbs up. So two people are in the chat so far. Can everybody hear me? We're live here with the live stream right now. And
I'm looking at it on YouTube, and it just still has like the
what?
The wind. It's not exactly live yet. It still says people are waiting.
Well, actually, I am live. I am live on.
Okay.
I'm actually live. I think I got people waiting on this because I set it up on my phone, but we're not using the phone for the actual live stream. So all the people that are waiting there, if they can hear me, should come on over. Johnny Ragu, man, thank you for the $20, man. Thank you very much, my brother. I was really appreciating that, bro. Yes, I got it, Danny. Thank you very much. What's up, Jamie Turner? What's going on, man? Okay, so I have the coroner here, but he's not like, we have his voice, we don't have his face. So, and he wants it that way too. So that's how we're going to play it. Can everybody hear everything that we're saying? Can you hear him and me?
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Can everybody hear the coroner talking too? I feel like crazy motherfucker calling you the coroner all the time. But it works, man.
John. Yeah.
Okay, guys, you can hear everything? Yeah? Okay, Donnie says he can hear you. Everybody can hear you. Okay, so we are live. We are live again, man. Let's wait till a few more people. Yeah, let's wait for a few more people to come in, and we'll start the show up, man, because as you guys know, like, we had a great show. What was it, about 2 weeks ago? And actually, and then a week before that, when he talked about Barry Mills and what was, I always fucking stumble over.
Tommy Silverstein.
Yeah, Tommy Silverstein. I always stumble on his name, man. He's the guy that picked them up from ADX after they passed away, which is kind of a weird thing to have happen in your life. I mean, not if you're a coroner, though, right?
Right. For anybody,
coroner, you're going to get
for anybody, that's a weird thing.
It is, yeah. I mean, just happen to be in that neighborhood,
But to kind of know about them from reading books and shit like that, and then find yourself to be doing that.
And meeting them face to face.
But the path that got me there was a long one, and that's why it's so strange I ended up doing that. I'm born in Camden, New Jersey, and just look, being born in Camden, New Jersey is probably a strike against you from the giddy up.
It sure is.
And and I found myself in foster homes and in juvenile shelters, juvenile detention, and then I finally got myself sent to Jamesburg, which is a juvenile prison in New Jersey, for young offenders.
I remember.
14 years old or so was about the cap on that. And then from there, I did learn my lesson. I went to Boys Town in Coroner, New Jersey, up north, next to Harrison. And I stayed there for the maximum amount of time. And the Monsignor helped me and got me in the Army. And as soon as I started my reserve status in the Army, I started fucking up again.
What was you doing?
And, you know what? I really wasn't into drugs and stuff like that. I just wanted money. And I had a guy. I had a guy that showed me how to break into drugstores through the roof. And
you were robbing them?
With them, and then
Wait a
I
minute.
figured I knew how to do it on my own, and I did a couple of jobs, and I was successful. But when it came time to get rid of the dope, I made a lot of mistakes. I left the lot numbers on the prescription bottles. I left evidence at the scene, like I was smoking cigarettes, and I would leave the butts where I was at. And they didn't have DNA back then, but they could get your blood type. I left shoe prints, no fingerprints, but a lot of, I left circumstantial evidence, and before I know it, I had a bunch of cases on me, and I had a bail that I couldn't make, and I had a couple of co-defendants and, people that were selling the bills for me, but they didn't have any problem telling on me. And so before I knew it, I found myself in a county jail with a boatload of charges, and I was facing a significant amount of time. And, I'd been locked up as a juvenile, and I was worried about what happens when you're locked up as an adult. And, New Jersey is not an easy stop. And I was, a good-looking, blonde-haired white kid, which isn't an easy stop, And so I'm in this county jail, and I was in the Cumberland County Jail in New Jersey. And they had an old jail and a new jail, and I was in the old jail. It was a dormitory style, to give you a picture of what this, and it was on the third floor. And so cops didn't come up to the third floor unless there was a problem. So you never saw an officer up there. You were on your own.
Yeah.
And I was in a dorm with about 20 other men, one other white guy. Everybody else was black or Puerto Rican. And, I didn't have any problems with anybody because I didn't, I was respectful. I knew how to do time already. And all I did was push-ups and dips all day long. Right? Out of a pack of playing cards, I flip over 2 cards, and whatever the numbers would do, I would do push-ups.
Right.
And I'd flip over 2 cards and do dips. Just to show everybody I'm ready, in case something happens.
Right.
And so I had been there for about 9 months and was, getting ready to plead. And I was just, getting ready to enjoy a regular good weekend in the county jail, and this guy came in, a short, really stock black guy came in, and then a really thin Puerto Rican guy came in the block, and they got themselves settled. But after about an hour, that black guy caught that Puerto Rican guy in the bathroom area, which was like open, two open toilets and a shower, and was beating on him back there. So it's none of my business. And I was just like, okay, I put myself, on notice to watch myself around this guy. And so that night, this is back when they had like the Playboy channel on televisions. And so these guys would turn the Playboy channel on the television, and it would be distorted. You wouldn't be able to see the picture, but every now and then maybe a little voice would come through or a glimpse of a titty or something. And so these guys would all be standing there in front of the TV trying to watch it. And so I went, I wasn't into that. I went to go back to my bunk, and that guy was sitting on my edge of my bunk watching the Playboy channel from my bunk. And so I walked over, and I was like, yo, man, this is my bunk. He looked at me kind of weird, got up. And I said to myself, man, I'm going to have a problem here. I went and got myself ready to, wash myself up and everything, get ready to go to bed. When I came back, dude was on my bunk again. But so I laid down on my bunk like I owned it. And when I did, he pushed my legs aside and made himself more comfortable. So I was like, yo, what's up? This is my bunk, you know? He didn't say that. He just got up and went into the like front area where some other guys were watching TV. And by then I had already decided that something's going to have to happen. And I was a little intimidated by the guy because he was big. Like this guy was swole, not normal, like abnormally swole. And and I was worried that if I did something and I didn't win, that everyone in the block was going to beat the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
And if I lost, whether I won or lost, I figured I was going to catch a bad beating from the other black inmates. So I waited till everyone was asleep because I couldn't sleep. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I got up, and because it was summertime and it was off, no AC or nothing like that, they put a water cooler, one of them Coleman, orange water coolers, holds like 2-3 gallons of water. They had one of those in the block. And so I filled it up with water, put that top back on, and then we had some scouring powder for the block, to clean. And I wrapped some toilet paper around my thumbs and got them wet and sprinkled that powder over them. Then I picked up that water cooler and I walked over to his bunk and I straddled the bunk and I brought it down on his face as hard as I fucking could. And he started screaming, but I was able to hit him with it about 2 times before the top of that thing exploded and all the water came out. And then I put my thumbs in his eyes and spun him around in there as deep and as hard as I could get because, I was making a statement that night that nobody was ever going to do nothing to me, And he took a hellified beating, and I just kept hitting him, and all I heard was his head. I couldn't hear the screaming anymore. And I had him like in a mounted position, like I was over top of him, and I had my legs hooked around the bed, and I was right on his chest, And then I looked up, and I had a lot of people surrounding me, and I heard things like, "Yo, white boy, he had enough. Yo, that's good." And I just like, yo, if anyone touches me, I'm fucking killing all of yous. And I grabbed him in a headlock and I ran him as hard as I could right to the bars. And if you've ever hit a ball the wrong way with a baseball bat and felt that vibration when you hit something wrong with like a bat, that's the same thing that happened in all those bars when his head hit it. And so, he hit the floor and he had pink bubbles and shit coming out of his head. He was, flipping, having convulsions and stuff. And the cops were like, yo, what the fuck happened, And I just said, I lied. I said, yo, I was sleeping and he came up to my bunk and was talking about, me wanting to suck his dick. And so, unbeknownst to me, he had already had a problem like that the last time he was in the jail.
Oh, wow.
So they just took him out. They rolled him, took him out. He went to the hospital. He got out because I beat him up bad. He had staples and shit in his head. And, like the next day, everyone was treating me a little bit different. And in fact, like 3 days later, his brother ended up on the block. And I didn't know he had a brother. I didn't, and that dude came straight up to me. And, they called him old man. He was like, hey, young man, I ain't got no problems with you. My brother, he's fucked up, but we're cool, right? I'm like, yeah, we're cool. And so that incident right there, I didn't have another problem as long as I was in that county jail. And I ended up getting sentenced. I got a 5 to 10, 5-year mandatory. And I went to Yardville, which is, the classification and processing in New Jersey. And on Sundays, they serve lunch there, because they have all day visiting. So you go to breakfast and then they give you a bag lunch. And I'm in the line with my breakfast and I'm talking to, like one of my new homies. And I turned around and about 5 spaces down the line, here's this guy. And his name was Leonard Williams. Leonard, if you're out there, I'm sorry I did that. I may have went a little over the top on it. But he took one look at me. And I was like, yo, I went to tap my friend to say, yo, this motherfucker back here, I'm just the dude that I smashed. When I went to turn back around, he had already walked away and approached an officer. And then when I got back to my cell, they came and got me, and he had signed a order of protection, and that I was his enemy, and that he said that I had threatened him, and they put me in ad seg, and that was that, and that that really served me well because for the rest of the time doing time, I wasn't worried about
Right.
somebody trying to pick up on me. I knew that I had it within myself to go that extra mile.
That's good.
It's something that a lot of men, you come to that crossroads when you're locked up, and you're not, you're going to make that choice. Either you're going to become someone that no one's going to take advantage of, or you're going to be soft.
Yeah.
And and there's no such thing as a fair fight.
No.
Was it fair what I did? No, but if he didn't violate me, that would have never happened.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. He violated me, and he violated me, so I'm like, yo, I violated him back, So, that helped me for the rest of my time because I didn't have to worry about anything.
So what happened? They let you out of the hole?
And then by the time I got to my stop, when I got to Trenton, there were dudes that came from that county. They were like, yo, that white boy there, he's fucking crazy.
So what happened? They let you out of the hole?
Yeah, I you know what? When I went to classification and they classified me to Trenton, which, when I was sitting outside on the bench with the old heads, they were like, oh, you're probably going to go to, an easy camp. You ain't going to go nowhere. You ain't going to Wallway or Trent. Don't worry about it, young buck. When I went there, they were like, well, where do you want to go? And I was like, Jones Farm, which was like the easiest spot in Jersey. And they were like, Jones Farm, you're going to Trenton State Prison. And that was the hardest stop there was in Jersey, So I was like, damn. But I only ended up spending a year and a half there. And then I got medium security. They kicked me down to Bayside Prison.
I heard that was nice. Bayside? I heard that was all right.
It was not bad. I mean, because everyone that came there, they came for maximum security. They had some Fruit Loops and shit like that there, but they had a real nice yard. You get yard 3 times a day. They had a good chow hall. They had great commissary. Good contact base. I mean, back when you could do time.
Yeah.
Now it's different. The cops run the show now.
Fuck that.
Back when the inmates.
Yeah.
The inmates still ran everything.
Let me ask you something, bro. Hey, one of the guys in this chat. Are you reading the chat? Can you read it?
No. What's it say?
One of the guys wants to know if while you were on one of those missions, like while you were a coroner, while you were working, did you ever go to like a dead body and then find like drugs and cash in the fucking house and stuff? Like you ever get something like like a lick almost?
Yeah, I have gone into places where it was just me and the coroner. Sometimes it was just me waiting an hour for the coroner, no police.
Yeah.
And I've been in houses where there was, but it never occurred to me to do anything because that was a life I left behind, and
yeah.
Like it was just the wrong thing. And I'll give you another thing. Like when someone passes away and they're in hospice care or they're really have a lot of pain meds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only people in Colorado, that are allowed to dispose of that are the coroner.
Oh, really?
And so I used to carry a gallon Ziploc bag with half full of kitty litter, and I used to carry a small bottle of bleach. And whenever pain meds, or a lot of times they had them fentanyl popsicles.
Yeah.
Not popsicles, but fentanyl lollipops.
Yeah.
We just put it in that bag and pour that bleach on there. Nobody was going to try to get it out of there after that. It'd be unusable. But,
so you put it on the cat litter and mix it all up, man?
Yeah, put it in the cat litter and then mix it up. Because they said a lot of those nurses and a lot of those people that are involved in that stuff.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, what's the best way to get rid of them? I'm going to tell you, first of all, you got to go to a county that doesn't have any money. That's the first thing that you need to know. Is go to a county where there's no money. How do you know there's no money? They have no emergency services. They rely on another county to provide their police, their ambulance, everything.
Okay.
And that kind of place, they can't afford any kind of trial. Trials cost money, and they can't afford them. And I've already learned that out here that in these rural counties, it's got to be an open and shut murder case for them to want to prosecute anything. There's an awful lot of unsolved. And I think that when I left, I think that our conviction rate was under 30% for major crimes.
Really?
That's pretty low.
So right now you live in a rural area. You live in pretty much a rural area?
Yeah, really rural.
Is it cheap to live out there like that? I mean,
You know, you would think when I first moved out here, to give you an example, the house that I moved into is a 3-bedroom ranch with a full basement.
Wow.
Was $600 a month, and my utilities were under $200. That was 8 years ago. Now I'm paying $1,250 for the same place, so double.
But that's not bad for a fucking nice house.
It's bad, but you know the marijuana industry is what really pumped up the prices here.
How's that? How so? How so?
Well, let me see. You want to say that one more time? I lost my track of thought.
Me too. I just did too. No, I was just like.
I was reading the comments.
Me too. I was. That's.
How to get rid of a body.
Yeah. No.
What's the best way to dispose of a body?
Yeah.
Well, the best way would be not to tell anybody about it.
That's the first thing.
Right.
Yep.
And the other thing is that DNA has come an awful long way.
I know.
It's not like back in the day, if you got rid of the body, there's basically no case.
Right, exactly. It's not like that. Forget about that.
It's almost next to impossible not to leave some of your DNA at the crime scene.
Exactly.
It could be in one hair. You say a word, a little spittle comes out. It doesn't, you'd be surprised.
Yeah,
You'd be surprised. And also,
it's really hard to get away with shit.
When you're in that mode, I've never been in murder mode, but I've been in the mode when the adrenaline is pumping and you're doing some wrong shit. It's really hard to focus down and take care of every little loose end because the adrenaline and stuff,
You know what,
if
bro?
you're serious about it, I'm sure you could look it up.
Let me tell you something, man. DNA was one of the big reasons why the whole Chicago outfit was brought down by fucking DNA in one fucking murder case. And that created a government witness who had like knowledge of 20 some murders, right? Like over a period of 30 years, he could go back. He knew where bodies were buried. So because he was facing a life sentence, maybe a death penalty, he became like a star witness. And that tied him into all kinds of different murders. He took him to different grave sites. And he even got the Spilatro brothers. You remember them?
Oh, yeah, the guys that died.
So
From
yeah.
Vegas. Yeah.
What the fuck happened to my whatever happened to my there it is. Okay.
How about disposing of a body? What's the best way to get rid of it?
There's no way to get rid of it. You're better off not doing it.
You're right. You're but it's really not that difficult. The first thing I'm trying to tell you is don't tell nobody. That would be your first obstacle right there. And
I mean, you could pour that fucking lie on a person, and that kind of destroys.
You could, but you have to get rid of the DNA. So I'd imagine that you'd have to dismember someone, and you'd have to pull the teeth, hands, and feet. You have to burn them, burn the body, crush the bone, and you'd have to hammer crush them bones, man, and burn them, and maybe put them in water somewhere, a lake or something.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I mean, it's really difficult to, you know, to get away with one these days. Most people kill people that they know. So the ones that get away with it usually are stranger kills. That's why it's hard to catch a serial killer. They're taking moments of advantage of opportunity. Most people that kill people, they're you know
They know the
them.
person. Yeah. So it's going to be somebody you know, and it's easy to solve. But if you're
Yeah, I mean, if a spouse gets killed, they're going for you, the other spouse, until something proves different.
yeah. So the most interesting case was that little fucking guy. What was his name? He was a millionaire, a multi-millionaire guy from New York, and he killed.
Oh yeah. I know the guy. I know the guy you're talking about.
He just died. He died last
Oh,
year.
he did?
Yeah, he finally passed away last year.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because when I got out of New Jersey, I had charges waiting for me in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So when I got out, I just got into the sheriff's car and went right to Philly, to Holmesburg, which was a lovely stop, I have to tell you. And I ended up going to Camp Hill. It was about 6 or 7 months after the riots in Camp Hill. So those police there were still pretty hot. And I stayed there for about a year and ended up meeting DuPont, the guy from Valley Forge that had the wrestling team that killed the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And they had him in protective custody, but he bought crossword puzzles and find a word book puzzles and a book on how to keep yourself physically fit. And he used to push a little cart around and give that to the new guys coming in at reception, out of his own pocket. That's what they used to let him do. I thought that was, he was super, one of the richest people in the United States.
Not DuPont, right? Donnie.
Time.
It wasn't DuPont. This guy, Donnie Ragu, who was saying it was DuPont. DuPont was a situation, too. I remember vaguely that one. DuPont was an interesting situation.
Yeah. The guy you're talking about, I think they had an HBO special on him.
He did.
What's it say?
Yeah, this guy was in New Jersey State Prison, yes.
Yeah, I was in New Jersey State Prison. My last number there was 77224. I got out of there and I got out of Bayside a month after Wilson Good dropped the bomb on the Move people in Philly. Remember that summer when they dropped the bomb on the Move people?
Oh yeah. Man, I was watching that fucking bullshit on TV, man. They're fucking whining and crying and all this shit about the like, man, come on. You fucking brought that shit on yourself, man. Come on. You begged to fucking.
They had us locked down that day.
Jesus Christ.
I guess they were worried about, some shit happening.
It was ridiculous.
That was the crazy times back then. They had all those Cubans in the system back then. I told you before, those guys were making fishing lines with their safety pins and catching fucking seagulls and dragging them in through their cell and cooking them. Yeah,
I know. There were a different kind of prisoner. I noticed that. Yeah, they were different.
Like, I don't know what doing time is like now because I ain't messed around in a long time. But back then, I just know that it was real.
Yeah.
And you could leave in the morning when the cell doors cracked, and you didn't have to come back to your cell till like 9 o'clock at night. You'd be roaming free all day.
Well, that's the kind of prison you want to be in, bro. That's it.
It was, when the inmates ran the shit.
Yeah.
The bakery, the shops, when you go to work, the bakery had fucking Pillsbury Doughboy and cups and leg irons. That's some dark humor right there, right?
Yeah. I mean, those are the kind of prisons, man, where you can just spend the whole day, man, fucking chasing the fucking bag or whatever you want to do,
Right, yeah. I used to be hanging out with the old heads, and,
Yeah.
That's, when you're a young guy, and I was a young guy then, when you're a young guy, and if you're a solid young guy, usually some solid white dudes will pick you up, you know what I mean, and make sure that you do your time well. They want to they want to see you get home. Oh, Americans caught, man. I ate so many ramen soups while I was locked up. It's not fun.
I hate them fucking things.
That shit's got me swelled up, Jack.
Yeah, I don't like them, and they're not good for you either.
When I see them now, I laugh because I know people out here be eating them.
Here's the thing, bro.
I know Eric Daniels. No, I don't know Eric Daniels.
Who the fuck is that?
Never heard of him. I hung out with guys from Camden and Philly. That's basically it. That was the kind of clique that I ran with when I was locked up. There's no gangs.
Nah, it was no gangs, man. Yeah.
No gangs. You were white, you walked on your own. Another white dude wouldn't fucking help you.
Yeah.
But now everything's different, And I just think it's because they're scared. These kids today, they think if they get punched in the face, that's like murder. They'll pull a gun and shoot you because they ain't never been punched in the face. But when we were kids, that was normal.
Yeah,
you
right.
were encouraged to fight it out with your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's different now. Everything's different. So.
Was there many wise guys in there with you? Was there many wise guys in the New Jersey?
When I was in Bayside, they had a small crew of wise guys that were from Newark. A guy named Tony Imperial. Tony Imperial, his father is the guy that The Sopranos is all modeled after. I was there with a guy, his name was Jojo Giorgiani. He was from Pleasantville, New Jersey. He was busted for underage sex. And he was so fat that they had to knock a wall out and give him a double cell.
Jesus Christ.
He was really famous for being, super fat. And he was so fat he couldn't wipe his own ass. He used to have a crew of guys that used to bathe him and wipe his ass. And he fed him and all that shit. They used to all wear the same color fucking jumpsuit,
Yeah.
They have a disabled cell. No, not back then. This is when you did real time. They didn't give a fuck about if you were disabled. Okay?
Yeah.
You didn't have nobody, no wheelchairs there, but they didn't give a fuck. The coroner stories.
Yeah, I love the coroner stories, dude.
I told a lot of these coroner stories, before. So I have to try to think of some that are,
that you haven't already told.
It was kind of routine to me after a while,
I imagine.
And you kind of have to put that shit into a box because it kind of it'll start eating away at you.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
But most of the most disturbing thing about the coroner stuff and picking up dead bodies, honestly,
What?
was seeing a lot of fucked up looking genitalia. Not, it's not something that you go into it for, but, before you can cremate someone, you have to know what's in their body. So, when you pick someone up, you have to ask questions. Do they have implants? Have they ever had like a hip replacement? Do they have breast implants? And then you have to be, does grandma have any piercings? Grandpa have any exotic piercings that you know about? Maybe an alternative lifestyle or something, because you have to get all these things out of the body before you cremate them.
Uh-huh.
And so, just like everyone is different in their face and their body, the genitalia is kind of like that too. When you see so much fucked up genitalia, it's kind of like put something on you,
Yeah.
That was what was difficult, not so much men, because, I've been doing a lot of time. I had been a lot of showers, not so much that, but women had some weird shit, that was just, because everyone's a little different, And that was the worst part of the fight. Like,
what was it like? What kind of weird pussy what are you talking about? I'm trying to imagine what the fuck you're talking about.
things that aren't located where they're supposed to be. Instead of like, a vagina being where it's supposed to be, maybe it's 3 or 4 inches higher than it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, so here we go. We can address this. How did you get a coroner job with a criminal record?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. I wasn't looking for this job. I got recruited for this job because I was a manager at a pizza place, and a lady that worked for that office used to come in every night and order the same sandwich, a Philly cheesesteak. And because I'm from Philly, I would take extra care in making that cheesesteak because out here they don't know how to make a good cheesesteak.
Right.
And she used to love it,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's like, you know what? I have a really good job that you could get that you never have to do something like that, And so I was like, yeah, what? She's like, you pick up dead bodies. You make $1,000 a week.
Jesus Christ.
And that wasn't really great money, but at the time I was making about $500 a week, so it was double.
Right.
But I wasn't into it, and I said no. And she asked me every couple of months for a year until I finally said, well, maybe I'll just go out on one with you and see how it goes. And the only reason I did was because I hated my job so much.
Right.
Nobody ever asked me about doing a background search or anything like that because I presented myself well.
Right.
I never talked I never talked about my past. And the one thing about Colorado is, unlike a lot of states, where if you wanted to work in a coroner's office, you'd have to go to pathology school, or at least community college, and get yourself a certificate. Or you'd have to go to mortuary school, but you'd have to be certified. But in Colorado, there's an awful lot of professions that they don't require a license for. You don't need a license to teach here. There's
Really?
a lot of things you don't need a license for, and that just so happened to be one of them. And they just welcomed me like I was one of the good guys. And I had never been that close to cops before. I'd always in the back of my mind still been a little leery about them. And I'm not paranoid or anything. When I stopped messing around with the cops, I stopped having problems with cops.
Exactly.
So it's pretty simple. And but to be able to work with those guys, you have to act like one of the good guys.
Sure.
And what would happen is that whenever we would go into a scene that was a little criminally, I would make observations that they liked because I was seeing it from a different angle. I was seeing it from maybe the criminal point of view.
Right.
I was just seeing things that didn't look right. But what I did know is that they weren't really interested in finding things that weren't right. They were just trying to close cases. That's the one thing I didn't understand. So, anytime that I saw, like a crime against a woman or some shit like that, I kind of went the extra mile because I wanted to find justice for that person.
Sure.
I had to take responsibility for the things I did wrong, and I was held accountable. So I kind of feel like everyone should be held accountable for the things that they do too. Now, I'm not saying I'm out there trying to call the police on people, but I'm saying that was my job, to find justice for those people, those victims,
Right.
and at least give them some dignity, in their death. That's the one thing I always provided was, dignity in the death,
Right.
And, I found that I was a compassionate person and was able to, tap into that of wanting to help. It was one of the best jobs I ever had for giving something back. People are there with a dead loved one in their house. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In America, we don't talk about death. We don't talk about how to approach it, what happens, what to expect at the funeral home, or anything,
Yeah.
But if I could offer a tip to everyone, if you're going to get yourself cremated, prepay, go online. It's the cheapest price you'll get. You can pay $600 today, and in 30 years, if you die, they're still going to honor that same cost. They're not going to jack it up. And if you pay for it in Philly and you die in New York, a funeral home in New York will take care of you because all funeral homes have that arrangement.
Yeah, my mom and dad did that. Both my mother and father did that. They paid ahead of time and stuff. Yeah.
And cremation is good because everybody can get a little piece of the person. And it's not like, someone is in charge of, these days you can have jewelry and stuff made from the ashes or anything. I think it's much more better than a traditional burial.
Yeah, sounds like.
Yeah. But what happens if you die? Yeah, we've had that for a lot of people.
Indigents.
Um, a
Indigents.
lot of people, yeah, they're either their family is unable to pay or unwilling to pay, or they have homeless people and stuff like that, and unfortunately, they keep them around for six weeks or so in an attempt to get someone to pay. They usually, wait until they get I think the Social Security will kick $200 in as a death benefit to you when you die. So they wait to get that, and then usually the county ends up paying for it, and and then unfortunately, you go to the pauper's grave, and the pauper's grave that we had here was combination pet and people. They would just sprinkle the ashes out back. Is basically kind of how it would go. You wouldn't be, interred in anything because you're cremated. So that's a terrible way to go.
I'll tell you, I got a couple of things to say here. Okay.
Yeah.
A friend of mine works for a pet funeral place, right? What he does is he goes, picks up the dead animals, and
Right.
And he brings them back. And these people have paid for funerals for their pets,
Right.
for them to be interned in certain ways and so forth. And
Right.
it's a business, bro. It's a fucking business for the pet, for
Yeah,
people that love their pets.
The contract where I work is that I would do pet cremations in the daytime because they don't put out as much smoke as a human body. And at nighttime, we would do the human bodies because the smoke would be, the fatter
thicker.
you are, the blacker the smoke. When you cook oil and grease, it's the same thing when you cook a human. So, and we would put as many animals as we could fit because, sometimes they would have a lightning strike, 10, 15 animals at a time would get killed. So we'd have to cremate all that because we had a contract for the county. But when it came to like individual people, like I'll give you a good case that I had. That was a pet and a person at the same time. I got a call that a lady had a chihuahua in the freezer and she wanted to get it cremated. So when the person came in, it sounded like a lady on the phone. She sounded really upset. And I told her, bring your chihuahua in and we'll get it taken care of. So when she came in, it was a man that was a trans man, is what I would say the person was. They had a beard, a mustache, and sideburns, and dressed, like in cowboy boots and dungarees. Like, because out here they dress in Carhartt boots and women out here. And so I took care of the person, and when they picked up the Chihuahua, they were really happy and everything. And 2 weeks later, I get a call to pick up a person, and the name looked kind of familiar, but I couldn't put down the name. Oh, one small fact I left out. When the lady came with the Chihuahua had one of those dog chokers.
Oh yeah.
Collars on it, like the chain one.
Yeah.
And she asked if she could have that back. So, she had wrapped them up frozen, so I unwrapped it and I took it off and gave it to her. And so I go to pick up this body. And when I go in the house, it's this trans person had hung herself in the bathroom with the dog choker.
What? Wait. Stop again. You went to pick it up? You went to pick up the dog?
So, a couple weeks after this, after taking care of this Chihuahua for the lady, and the reason why the lady stuck out to me was not so much because of the trans thing, but when somebody would be really, really broke up about their pet, I had some nice hand-carved urns that a guy used to donate to us and I would give those herbs to people that I thought could use it.
Right.
And she was so happy that I did that because she had to borrow the money to get the cremation, which was like $65 as it was. So when I, went into the house, that box was there too. The urn that I had given her was there. But when I went into the bathroom to see what kind of case I had, there she was, hung off the back of her door with the dog choker around her neck. And it wasn't a high hanging. It was one where her feet were actually touching the ground, but it's kind of like she just put enough pressure on her neck until she kind of passed out and let the rest
I've seen prison homicide. I've seen prison suicides like that.
It's one of those slow strangulations that you can make yourself pass out and then you'll die after you're passed out.
So, man,
it's really sad.
It was crazy, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Probably missed
really
the pet so much. Didn't have anybody to live for, huh? This is crazy.
Yeah, well, I was like, them people's lives are probably difficult as it is. But yeah, maybe not having that little chihuahua. She was really broke up over the dog.
And she used the chain to kill herself, huh? The chihuahua chain.
Yeah,
That's a crazy story, bro. That's insane.
Yeah.
And it is sad,
I got one more story.
Gotta hear.
I live near the Arkansas River, and in the summertime they like to go rafting on it, and in the springtime when all the snow melts, the water gets high, and the rapids are really strong, and the river was overflowed, and they had issued a warning for no one to go into the river. But the Boy Scouts were having their annual river run. And the top Boy Scout rafting instructor, the top guy of all the Boy Scouts, was there to oversee this. And he was going to be the first guy in order to make sure it was safe. And he had more safety equipment than I had. Like, he had two vests that automatically inflated. He had like a real motorcycle helmet with a camera on the front, camera on the back. He had elbow protection. He was like ready to go to war. Like, this guy was ready to go do cell extraction. He had so much fucking gear on him, And he hit that water, and 5 minutes after he hit that water, he got turned into mush. He hit a couple of rocks, had a couple of logs hit him in that river, and that was it. That was it. They canceled all the Boy Scout river rafting.
Fuck them.
It's been about 4 or 5 years since then, and they still don't do it.
Yeah, man, that is crazy. Imagine
when they tell you don't go in the river, listen to them. Don't go in the goddamn river.
He's the expert. As soon as he
He was the expert.
That would have did it for me, dude. Never again.
He had so much gear on. I don't even know how he was able to sit upright naked in that kayak,
Yeah.
But yeah, so much for all the experts.
I'll tell you one more story I got, man. I watched on 60 Minutes. This has been years, 20 some years ago. They were doing a thing about New York City where they all the deceased, like winos and shit from like the Bowery, the dregs of humanity that pass away. What they do is they keep them on ice, all right, and then when they get like full, they actually, and this is blow my mind because they put them in caskets, like wooden caskets, cheap wooden caskets, right?
Right.
And they would put them like 4 deep into a hole. They had the holes dug, right? They had the fucking the forklift. They had like 4 coffins deep on the forklift, and they drop them in the fucking hole. So the fucking hole had to be, much deeper than the average grave would be, right? And they were covered.
Right.
So like, it really didn't make sense to me, like why they didn't just cremate them, because they were just
expensive. Yeah, it's expensive. It costs like $100 in fuel
To cremate
somebody.
So what? You think the burial was cheaper?
Cheap. Yeah, it's just cheap. It don't cost nothing to throw you in a hole.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I guess except for the finding the plots and shit. To get. So the King Kong wants to know any good ghost stories. I don't think there's any of that going on.
Nah, listen. That job. That job brought out every type of fear I could possibly have, and I had to learn just how to control it. You know?
I imagine.
It's dealing with, dead bodies they got a special odor about them. They're dead. And, who messes around with dead bodies? Nobody. Right? So we would pick up, person, and when you pick them up, you already know whether they have a prepayment plan for cremation, or if they have, maybe they're going to get embalmed, maybe they're going to get buried for real. You have to treat people different. And so the guy that trained me, he brought me into this room where you transfer the body from a gurney, which is about 3 feet up off the ground, to a cardboard box, which is what you go into before you get cremated. And so I thought we were going to lift the person because they were wrapped in a sheet. I thought we were going to lift the person by the sheet and ease them down into the body. And so he said, "No, move out of the way." And he just went behind that gurney and tipped it over. And that person, bam! It smacked pretty hard into the.
He just tipped them over into it. He just tipped them
and
on
I
over.
was like, "Damn, dude, that's kind of rough." He's like, "They didn't feel it."
No, sure did.
And I was like, "I guess you got a point,
Yeah.
And he was like, "That's how you get him out of the sheet." And I was just like, "Okay." I didn't do that myself. I used to lower the gurney to the floor and ease the person in because I wanted someone to treat me decent.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. I really feel you on that. I don't think
one time I went out to pick up a older lady, and I was getting a guy that had never done the work before, and it was his first time out. And because I used to run through a lot of assistants because people would go out on one job and never come back.
Yeah,
because it's difficult work, And
that
so
would be
I told
me.
this guy, look, you don't look that strong. So when we put this person in the sheet, I would hold the head, and the other person would hold the feet. You make a knot at each end, and not only do you have to lift, but you have to lift and pull back to stretch the body out. Otherwise, the hips will sag all the way down to the ground if you don't stretch the body.
Yeah, I get you.
With the sheet. So he was like, "No, I can do it. And we had to go down a flight of steps. So I said, "All right, I'll get the legs. If you got any kind of problem, let me know. We'll ease the body down. Whatever you do not drop your hand." And there was a grandmother, and she had her grown sons, 40 and 50 years old, sitting right there watching us. And they had been drinking. They were all drunk. And we're going down the stairs, and all of a sudden, I heard them say, "Whoa!" Boom, that lady's hit that stair tread so hard, the whole house shook.
Jesus Christ.
And I had to jump, I had to jump between him and them because they were ready to beat him up, And so luckily I was like, "Listen, why don't you fellas help me out? You guys get the other end and we'll help carry Mom together."
Yeah, sure.
And so that kind of bailed me out, And I went back the next day and I was like, "Listen, this guy, he's not physically strong enough to do this job. Don't send him out on any other jobs." They sent him out on more jobs with me. I guess, like I said, I was making $15 an hour. You would think I'd have been making a lot more than that.
Shit,
but,
yes.
I was making $15 an hour.
If you can handle it, that's not even good money today. Geez.
That's nothing, right? And so, that guy was getting paid. Next, he was getting paid like $12 an hour. So I don't know. I hope they give early release or parole.
King Kong said that every time he does something stupid, he feels like his dead relatives can see him. You know,
Oh, really?
that's I think that's something that we learn when we're young.
Yeah.
Like people can watch us.
Yeah.
And, we have to be, always be aware of where we are and who we are and how we deal with life and how we, you know, how we act.
Yeah, I believe at the moment. I believe myself that the moment that you die, your spirit goes somewhere. And that's that. The once your spirit leaves your body, it's just a vessel, and you go back to the earth from which you came. Just like everyone else, the millions and millions of people before us. I mean, heaven or hell must be one crowded place.
Well,
Right?
it's the recycling of the energy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I used to think that cremation was bad because you're destroying the body and all that, but I came around on that thinking that's the best possible way to go.
the Catholics. The Catholics back in the day were against it. We're very much against it. But then my
I'm
mom.
Catholic, and I'm Catholic. I was an altar boy in Boys Town. I had a couple of years in Catholic school in first and second grade. I made I made confirmation, all that stuff, and that Catholic guilt's always going to be there if you're Catholic. But it really seems like the best way to go, because you can have a piece of that person with you. You could be sitting right there in your kitchen with you. You don't really lose them. They're right there, which is much better, I think, than having someone in the cemetery, or around a bunch of strangers. I wouldn't want to be in a cemetery around a bunch of strangers, people I'd rather be with people that love me or loved me.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way, man. Because like my mom, even like when my mom was on her deathbed, I was reading like this place. She was in a hospice care, and I was reading this thing, right, that they had, and it said that things that happen to people in hospice is that they'll talk to the people who have left before them, and they'll be in a coma, but they'll be talking to. Like my mother was talking to my father and stuff,
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so,
There's a lot of, there would be some nursing homes. Well, okay, so there's some phenomena that are common for people when they're getting ready to die. There's some common behaviors that happen when someone is in getting ready to die. Not a couple days away, but like within a couple hours or maybe that day.
Right, go ahead.
And one of them is that if a person is normally weak, their voice is kind of weak, it's not very strong, or their movements aren't strong, a lot of times that last day, their voice becomes clear and strong, and they have a little bit of energy, and typically they'll ask for a meal or a food item that they used to have when they were a kid, something that they've been craving that they're not getting wherever they're at. And a lot of times they will, have conversations. And one of the conversations is that I went to this to pick up a guy, and the lady was like, right before he died, he screamed, "Fire, fire, fire." And his family was traveling from a real rural area. It was going to take them like 3 hours to get to the nursing home, and they wanted to see him in the nursing home before I picked him up. So I said, after you're done, you call me, and then I'll come meet you, and we'll work it out together. When I went to go meet them, they told me they would have been there early, but they had a terrible fire in their barn and lost a bunch of their horses. And I and the nursing people thought that was really, really, more than a coincidence.
Yeah,
the person who was screaming "fire, fire, fire" right before they died, and then the people, and then the relatives. So maybe there is some connection, and I guess we'll all find out when we get to that point.
Another thing that was in that little booklet in the hospice place I was reading, it said that just before people, within the last week or so before they pass away, they stop. They're no longer concerned with the things
Dying.
they're no longer concerned with the things that they were concerned with when they were, like for me, like my mother, right?
Uh-huh.
I was very close to my mom. Always talked to her on the phone all the time, right?
Right.
And just before they put her in the hospice and stuff, she wasn't even interested in talking to me anymore. You know what I mean? And I felt hurt. Like, why is mom?
Right.
No, that's part of the process of people getting ready to pass away. She's no longer interested in things of this earth. The things that matter to her most, her children, me, and my brother. Most important things to her were no longer important for me. And when I was feeling hurt, I shouldn't have, because it was just a natural process for her passing away.
Yeah. Maybe a moment of clarity. Maybe you get like some moments of clarity at the end. I know that, it's not something you should fear, and that, if you're lucky enough to be in hospice, because a lot of people don't take advantage of it, but I worked with a lot of great hospice nurses, and I would definitely say that you should take advantage of that, because that's the way to go. They say doctors go into hospice 2 weeks before regular people, because they already know. And
What do you mean? They go into hospital 2 weeks? What do you mean?
To make money. It's not going to cure you.
Wait a minute. I didn't understand what you said. Doctors go into hospice 2 weeks before regular people?
Yeah, like doctors that get, diagnosed with terminal diseases and stuff like that. They usually go put themselves in the hospice a couple weeks before other people, because they don't waste a lot of time in trying to stop what's going to happen, because they know that you can't stop it from happening. They want you to stick around and take it. Like when my father passed away, they wanted him to take another round of chemo. And he was like, no, I'm not doing that again. That almost killed me. I'd rather not. And so he just skipped it, like he didn't want to do it. No one blamed him for not wanting to do it.
It's horrible.
He didn't want to spend the money.
Not only that, but I was just
about spending money.
I mean, not only that, but it's chemo is a terrible thing, man. It leaves you very debilitated,
Yeah, and they had to intubate my father, and they told him that once we intubate you, it's a very good chance that you're never coming out of this.
Fuck yeah, right.
You're not going to be able to talk. And my father was crying and begging my mom, don't make him do it. And she was like, well, if you don't do this, you're not going to have any chance of living. And so he did it, I guess, maybe for my mother. I knew he didn't really want to do it,
And he passed away.
But an hour after they intubated him, he died anyway. So, he was right. He shouldn't have done it. He should have kept his last hour and had that last hour to talk with my mother.
They wanted to intubate him for what reason, though? What was the purpose? That they could have saved his life?
Because they're trying to save your life, And
they're just gonna extend a little bit, like a day or something, right? This is just
right. It's to make more money, right? Like
probably.
That my mom, she filled out a DNR clause for herself right after that. She doesn't want, no resuscitation from nothing.
So when you intubate somebody, you put them under?
No, it's when they put that, the intubate them is they put that breathing, the breathing tube down your throat into your lungs, basically, and it breathes for you.
Okay.
Like
so he was still awake when he passed away.
When you're on a respirator,
right?
That's getting intubated, right? When you're on a respirator, you get intubated to be on a respirator.
But you're still.
So I guess the mask and the tube that they say now. When I picked up dead bodies, and the persons had been the person had been intubated and on a respirator, we don't pull that out like half of it's still hanging out of the person's face. We don't pull it out because sometimes, they got so much crap stuck to it in there. All kind of things will come out if you pull it out. Biohazard.
Right.
So they would curl that cord up and shove that back down in the mouth. And, they would wire your mouth shut. It's terrible. It's terrible that the things that they do after you die, but, that's one of the things, to keep your mouth from opening. They wire they take a wire, a stiff gauge wire, and run it under your gums between your teeth. And that's how they sew your mouth shut.
You can't tell from the outside?
You can't tell from the outside because your lips are protecting it,
Okay.
And like I said, they go through your gums. So it's pretty high up and pretty low up,
Yeah. God. Okay.
And people's houses get robbed a lot after people's pass. I think that maybe used to be a lick back in the day, but I don't think that happens so much anymore.
You got to be a fucking real piece of shit.
I think that I remember that people would check obituaries. To
Yeah. While you're at the funeral, we're out your house robbing you and shit.
yeah, because I that's pretty sad.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So this guy, he says he's been in the ICU with the tooth down his throat.
Yeah, that's not good.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure it's not. What I learned is if they talk about putting you on the respirator, it's fucking over. That's what I learned from that day with my dad. If they come in talking about putting that thing down your throat, it's a wrap. You might as well just ask him for a blast of fentanyl.
Well,
and knock it out.
Was he fairly? Did they take care of his pain?
Yeah. I mean, to some degree, but he really wasn't in a lot of pain. Like my father was blessed to live to be 86. And when you're that old, man, and you're a man, shit just starts happening, And he had already survived leukemia, and so and leukemia doesn't get you until you're in the last 10 years of your life. And they don't have any studies on it because it's in the last 10 years of your life. So they can't do a long-term study, but if you get leukemia, you got a couple years left. It's a maybe 30 or 40% killer of most men.
It's a blood cancer, right?
Yeah, it's a blood cancer. Yeah, and it's only because your immune system is weakened over time and allowed that to happen. Normally, it would never happen, but as you get older, your system can't handle everything.
Yeah.
That's why it's important when you're young, man. Get them weights in, get them runs in, get that athletic stuff in.
Yeah, like tonight, I was going to the gym, but I had to go make.
Oh yeah.
No, I was getting ready to. I was going to do it before we did this show, and then this girl called me, picked me up. I got $35. I want you to take me someplace, and I did that instead. So.
Yeah, and when you're older, the workout is a different. It's a different thing. The days of getting big, that's over. You're just trying to keep what you got, and get a more cardio kind of thing, less heavy weights and stuff like that,
Right.
Cardio is the best, I think.
Cardio,
they should have a seniors handball court.
Man, there's a handball.
That's all I used to do was play handball,
I love the game, right? Actually, there's handball courts where I at the LA Fitness that I go to, but they don't. But they don't play handball. They play racquetball. They don't play handball like we do in prison.
You know why? Because it hurts your hand.
No. I don't
I
use
know,
a hard.
We know that it doesn't, but they think that it does.
Oh, maybe.
And I don't know about you, but I started playing handball with the black ball, a little small, hard ass ball.
Yeah, I don't like
I didn't
that.
start playing with the racquetball.
I don't do that.
I learned I started playing the racquetball, but yeah, I miss handball. That's some good stuff right there.
That was good exercise. I love to do that.
Well, I could just be frank about it. If you were white in prison, not everything is open to you. And one of the places that's open is the
handball courts. Yeah.
So, there's certain places where white dudes are, hang out in prison, right?
Handball.
White dudes are going to be suntanning in the summertime. Right? Dudes are going to be out there laying like they're on the beach, getting a tan.
Guinea Beach.
Hanging out at the stuff,
Call it Guinea Beach.
You know what it's like.
Or Hunky Beach. Yeah.
Well, White Boy Beach. Yeah. The brothers would be out with all their clothes on, with their winter jacket. You know how it is. You don't know if they're packing under there or what, Yeah, they. And and if you had a bocce ball court, well, that's where the real white dudes hung out, was the bocce ball court. And if you wasn't a solid dude, you wasn't getting on the bocce ball court.
I haven't played much ball. I played
racist or anything.
I like playing bocce ball, but I like to gamble on that shit. Yeah, bocce ball's fun.
Oh,
yeah.
Bocce ball, yeah. Listen, you get yourself a jug of hooch and hit the yard. They smoke a couple of tubes out there, we'd go to the movies on Friday night, smoke weed right in the theater. Cops never said nothing. Like, I don't know if they still have movie theaters in prison now, but when I was in prison, they did. Didn't they have movies when you were in there?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. But now, I don't mean like nowadays they got the, what do you call it? They got all the channels and stuff,
Right.
They don't have like.
I had. I'll tell you, when I got out, I was making $13 a month. I was making like 26 cents a day or some shit like that on idle pay, they called it. And I had a cable subscription for $13. They gave you basic cable and HBO. Like that was the best you could possibly get, 13-inch color TV.
Yeah.
Radio, CD player.
When the last time you was in prison, dude? How many years ago?
I got out in 1998.
Oh shit! Okay, well that's been a long time.
1998, and I never went back. I never went back because I learned that they physically broke me. I got to an age where I wasn't with that shit no more.
Yeah, well, you've got a good long stretch behind you now. I got out in 03. I got out in 03, man. I still came back like for another year from possession of heroin and stuff.
Well, but that's just a little relapse.
That's nothing, yeah.
Right? I mean, if you weren't on dope, you wouldn't have been out there messing around. You'd have never got busted.
By the way, man.
You've been out a long time now.
Yeah, I've been doing good.
The longer you're out, the less chances you have of going back. And it's different now. Like, I tell you, I'd be a little worried about myself now.
Yeah.
Everyone runs in gangs, this, that, yeah. You go into jail as an old man, they're going to think that you ain't never been nobody before.
Yeah.
You have to smash some young buck out right off the gate.
Yeah. Yeah, the last time I went to prison, right? I was in Illinois. I had a year. They sent me to medium security. There were people in there for beating up their wife. Right? What do you call it? What do you call that?
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence? They had guys in there for drunk driving. I'm not used to being around. I'm used to being around motherfucking bank robbers and shit.
Right.
Murderers.
Yeah.
And shit.
Yeah, them guys cry all the time, because they're doing a skid bit.
Scumbags, man. I can't relate. Well, listen, bro, we're already over an hour, man. We're like an hour and 15 minutes into this, and I want to shut this down. It's been the most interesting. We could probably go another hour. That's.
Oh yeah, but I think we killed it tonight.
Yeah, we'll do it again here in another couple of weeks if you want.
Okay, yeah, right on. That sounds good, man.
I mean, we don't usually go this long. So I mean, the fact that we did go this long and could go further says a lot,
Okay.
All right, guys.
Have yourself a good night, and good night to everyone that was listening to us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Guys,
don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And
like and subscribe. Send a couple of dollars.
Send Mike some money. He can use it. That's right.
Thank
Bless
you.
everybody.
Thank you, Donnie Ragu, my brother. Thank you so much. Thank you again, everybody. And by the way, King Khan, listen, man, let me tell you. She wanted to come to my house. I told her, no, man. I'm dropping you off at the fucking hospital. I wouldn't let her in. I mean, you know. Thank you, King Khan. Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you for $3. All right, appreciate you, guy. Yeah, I refuse to let the bitch in, bro. Fuck that. She's a problem. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, Mike, take it easy. Bye-bye now.
Right.